All right, let's talk about Behind You. No, wait, no, behind you, not me. So yeah, this was recently released on VOD. It's about $6.99 right now on Amazon. I don't know what it is anywhere else. Is it worth $6.99 to rent right now? Nope, sure isn't. How much would I pay for this? Not much. Not much. So, this is about two young girls. I think they're really young. They're probably 10 and 12, we'll say. I don't know. But that seems about accurate. And they were recently orphaned as their mother had died, so they go to live with their aunt. While they are at their aunt's house, they find that every mirror in the house is covered and that the basement is off limits and that the aunt has a very colored past. And so, yeah, there's a malevolent spirit. You know, it's a evil mirror movie. Let's just get to it. It's an evil fucking mirror movie. How many of these have they made now? I've seen a bunch. Boogeyman, Oculus, freaking Mirrors, Kiefer Sutherland, even Mirrors 2. They've made a ton of these. Even Boogeyman had two sequels, but hey, most of those were just footage from the original, much like Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2, which was like 45 minutes of the original Silent Night, Deadly Night 1. But I think Boogeyman like 3 is like 70 minutes of the first movie and like 15 minutes of new footage. It's an insane amount. Like, I don't even understand how they could possibly release that as a different film. Anyway, so what makes this film not worth the rental? Well, it's generic as fuck. It's a competently made movie. Like, it looks aesthetically, pleasing. It's a fine looking film. The acting is okay. It's nothing great. It's nothing bad, except for maybe the youngest daughter or youngest kid in the movie. But that's to be expected with young actresses like that. She's fine. She's not terrible. There are moments where she's kind of tipping her toe in the side of terrible, but it's as I said, it's to be expected. It's just I don't I don't understand movies like this. I really just don't. Like, when you have that ability to put, your fingers to the keyboard and to come up with literally anything you want, you just come up with every single thing you've ever seen before and go, yeah, let's make that. And somebody looks at that as like a producer or whatever, and they're like, yeah, let's make that. Like, I've talked about this on the channel a few times, but it's always baffling to me when I watch movies like this, and I just sit there and think, like, you never had the inkling to take a risk? Or is it that the producers or whoever hired you to write a generic script because they think that's what the audience wants and that they don't want to ever take a risk and try something different and come up with something unique? Like, it's weird to me that people harp on remakes and sequels and stuff so much. And they're like, oh, they've never had an original idea. They're out of ideas, whatever. There's plenty of original movies out there. I see them all the time. But they don't talk as much about stuff like this, where it's just copy paste. It's a little bit of this movie, a little bit of that movie, but there's no extra flavor. See, I don't mind because I do believe that pretty much every concept has been explored at this point. Like, in pretty much every killer, in the horror genre and in any genre, but killer mirror, a haunted mirror, whatever. There's nothing in this film that you haven't seen before. Not one single second. And there's nothing interesting about anybody. There's nothing interesting about any characters. Like her, you get the typical opening, something from the past happens, and then you skip 40 years later, and then we run into those characters again, and they talk about the past events, and then those past events play into the future events, and they think there's no way. I could summarize the entire film from beginning to end in 20 seconds, maybe 25 seconds. And honestly, if I did that, you wouldn't need to watch the movie. I don't think you need to watch the movie, period, honestly. But let's say you had a desire to watch it because you just wanted to see how it played out. I could tell you everything that happens and you wouldn't miss anything. Because, and you could say, oh, well, that's how any movie is. No, that's not true at all. Because you would miss charming characters. You would miss character development. You would miss funny moments. You would miss the charm. You would miss, stylistic choices that are visually appealing, like really, really exciting appealing. Not just like, oh, it's a competently made picture. There's nothing in this movie that you would miss. So these, and I don't know. I've said this before too. I just feel like films like this, I feel like I give them a pass a lot. I feel like I'm like, at the end of them, I think, oh, that was okay. And I leave it at that. And then people will come by and they'll hate it and they'll be like, this is the biggest piece of shit ever. And I'll actually defend it and be like, it's not a piece of shit, it's just generic. But I'm getting to that point. It's taken me way too long to get to this point. But I'm starting to get to the point where the generic movie is worse and is more offensive to me than a technically bad movie. Because a lot of technically bad movies at least tried something. They tried something and failed, which I've always claimed to like, but then I'll trash the movie that tries something and fails. And then movies like this, I'll be like, they were okay. Which is exactly what this was. This was fine. This was okay-ish. But if that isn't that, shouldn't that warrant calling it terrible? But I get why I don't allow myself to do that, because it's not terrible. It's just generic, which is terrible. So it's kind of a conundrum, but regardless, not anything that I would rush to. If it pops up on Netflix or something, and it's just, yeah, I think it's a total waste of time. So just stop with these movies. Just stop with these kinds of movies. You're wasting all of our time. Come up with something different. Just tweak things, adjust things, make things interesting, flip them around, turn them up on their head, do something. But I could take every scene of this movie, and I could tell you where I've seen it before multiple times, and now, as I've said, you could do that with certain movies, like great movies. There's plenty of awesome movies I watch where I see that scene and I think, well, okay, I've seen this scene before, but man, they're doing something really different with that scene. Which is like the best you can hope for at this time, because there's been like a freaking million movies made at this point, so everything's been done, but you just got to put your own spin on it, and this movie just doesn't. Okay, I know, I'm reiterating myself. Now I'm becoming generic. All right, adios, get fucked.